Hi everyone, Stacy here. So let's get right back into my mental health journey with my child. I do believe it took about six and a half weeks before we were able to get any kind of therapy, which, excuse me, it was school-based therapy, so I guess you really can't expect too much kind of help there, but anything is good at this point. Anything helps, I guess. For the most part, and they were doing Zoom meetings over the summer. I do believe 3 times a week. But to be honest, I don't think it really helped at all. I mean, sometimes I'd hear them, they don't really talk about anything. She'd talk about her animals, she'd talk about our dog, and that's pretty much what it was. And I mean, she asked the basic questions of how you feeling, do you feel like, do you have a plan, all that. But I didn't see any improvement with H at all. H didn't want to do therapy anymore. They just wanted to stop because they didn't feel that it was helping them. And to be honest, I really didn't see any really difference in how they were acting or anything. So I don't know. But I did encourage them just to stick with it until we were able to get a different therapist, because who knows how long next time would be. It could be another 6 weeks, take up to a whole year before we were able to get in to see anybody else. So let's fast forward to school, and everybody that has a child with mental health issues has to deal with school. And it's just an added stress that nobody really should have to deal with, but it is part of the system, I guess. Anyway, so school starts, and it's a major stressor for H, so we deteriorate even more. And the hallucinations, the audio, the visual hallucinations, they all were coming out full. I mean, they were getting severe. Bad enough that I asked his therapist to get in touch with their psychiatrist that they work with, to set up a meeting so that H could get some medication or something to help. Even though I never really wanted H to be on any medication for it, because I don't want medication to be messing with their brain. Maybe that's what they need, and we'll see. It took about another month before we were able to have a Zoom meeting with the doctor. In that first meeting, she did prescribe Lexapro and hydroxine to H. Lexapro for the depression, and the hydroxine was to help control anxiety and the intention. But in that very first meeting, she also sent us to the hospital, because in a private setting, when she asked me to leave the room, must be something was said, and she felt the need that H needed to go to the hospital. So off to the hospital we went. By the time we got there, H was feeling better, so they didn't see any need to keep us there, so they sent us home. Okay, cool. Next day I sent H to school, and they always want you, and he had a follow-up meeting with his therapist the next day, and she sends him to the hospital again. So we're back at the hospital the very next day. This time they kept H overnight. So I don't know what happened between those two within those 24 hours that required H to have to stay in the hospital. But we were able to come home the next day. Now let's skip ahead about let's a week, 8 days, 7, 8 days later, I get a phone call from the school saying that H is not doing good and they feel like they want to kill themselves. They have a plan, and that I needed to come pick H up and take them to the hospital. This time, I don't know what everything was said or anything, but I do remember being pulled into a different room with a doctor and just started crying and begging them to help H somehow, some way. Like, he can't continue to go on. We couldn't continue to go on like this. Nothing was helping. And I just remember crying to the doctor, begging them to do something, to help somehow, some way. I don't know what prompted them to think that H needed to go to stay at a psychiatric hospital. Because I'm not, you're not always able to go in this room when the doctor talks with your child, so I'm not sure all that was said between the doctor and H. But next thing I know, we are waiting for a bed to open up into a psychiatric hospital. That took, I think, 5-6 days before one was open, so H got to spend those 5 or 6 days in the ER room just waiting for the bed to open up. So during H's week-long hospital stay, they did provide a psych doctor to come see H every day. I mean, it wasn't for very long, half an hour, if that they would talk and just ask the same basic questions that, quite frankly, were annoying H a lot. But as I guess they have to ask these questions. Ask those questions. H had a sitter for 24 hours and was never alone unless H had to use the bathroom or take a shower. That was really only times that H was allowed to be alone. But even though they tried to have H engage in different things, H just didn't want to do anything. Preston wanted to be left alone. The sitter tried to get H to go for walks with them around the unit, but H's paranoia was just sky high. H thought people were just staring or talking about them, and it just caused H's anxiety to go higher and higher. I couldn't stay with H the whole time that they were in the hospital. But I remember coming up there, going to the hospital to see H, and when I get there, they just, H handed me a spoon, and I was like, what's this for? And H was like, I tried scratching myself with it, and I don't want to continue to try and harm myself. And I asked H, I was like, well, where's the sitter when you're doing it? And I was told that the sitter was there at the time that H did it, but the sitter was sleeping. So, not as good that is, right? H did ask at one point for a pen or a pencil, but they don't allow that at the hospital, so they did offer crayons. I remember at one point that H was being super difficult with me, and it was about time for the psych doctor to come down and see H. I was glad when the doctor walked in, because I was like, thank God. Now there's a professional here who can really help. But that wasn't the case. I think she spent 5 minutes max trying to figure out what was going on, and but H wasn't being very cooperative with her, so it was like she just threw up her hands and said, "Well, I'm gonna leave you here with and let your mother deal with you." And she walked out the door. I was like, "Whoa, that's not very helpful. What kind of place is this?" I think the next day we were informed that H's bed was open, and that H could be transferred out to the new, transferred to the psych hospital.